What is going on, everybody? So I'm back today to do a very different type of review. This is sort of, I guess I would call like a series review. This is just really me recommending something to you that I really enjoy. So as a lot of you know, following my channel for a while, people that have been subscribed to my channel for a while, I am a huge fan of the streaming service Shudder. They're one of my favorite streaming services right now, I'd say, even compared to like Netflix, Hulu, a lot of those other streaming services that I pay for, that Shudder is my favorite. I find some of the best material on that site. I feel like they give such an amazing platform for artists to kind of just explore, put out their material to audiences that are dedicated to the type of material they're producing, which is quality horror. And I think it's really cool that a streaming service exists that's dedicated and completely centralized around horror. And it's a really unique time to be alive because we have so many different streaming services and opportunities to watch so many different things. But the horror community is a community that's really tight-knit, it's really close, and it's a group of really wonderful people who all have this common interest in this common thread. And Shudder has introduced me to a lot of films that I never would have expected, but one of the things that Shudder introduced me to, I think I started watching probably 4 or 5 months ago, is a show called the Boulet Brothers Dragula. And I had no idea what this show was. I had no idea what it was going to be about, and I jumped in and I actually, weirdly enough, watched the show backwards. So I started with season 4 and watched back to season 1 and then finished by watching the Dragula Resurrection special. So I was kind of all over the place with how I watched this. I have absolutely grown to love this show. It is one of my favorite things that I've watched in years, and I am just absolutely obsessed with it. I think that the Boulet Brothers are doing something so incredible with this platform, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to get into like specifics of each season because I think it's just worth it for you to go in and watch it blind, but I'm just going to give a little overview into the show and kind of what it's all about and why I think you should watch it. So if you're unfamiliar with the Boulet Brothers, who are on my shirt, the Boulet Brothers are drag performers, Swanthula and Dragmorta Boulet, who their drag personas have been around for years and years and years, as I've come to find out looking online, and their impact in the drag community and like the alternative drag community. And when I started watching this show, I had no idea about drag other than like I've been exposed to drag performers in the past. I've seen some drag performances. Obviously, I've talked about John Waters on my channel before. I was a huge fan of Divine. So I knew little bits about it, but I wasn't really educated on the culture and kind of everything surrounding drag. And this show has really developed a fondness and an appreciation for drag for me. We're just seeing these performers and the level of their artistry and the commitment and passion and dedication to the craft has really made me grow to love it. So this show, essentially, a lot of people are familiar with RuPaul's Drag Race, where I've not even seen an episode of it, so I'm not really sure of the structure. But the way Dragula works is they bring on these contestants into the show, and they're from all different backgrounds and from different parts of the country, and they give them these really specific competitions to do together where they'll have a theme. So like there's a theme where design a Cenobite character, or design a character based off of a horror icon, do a vampire character, do a ghost ship character, and they pick these really specific challenges for these artists to test themselves. Because what's really great is when you're introduced to all the different performers, they all come from a different background in drag. So some of them aren't necessarily horror drag performers, they're just doing it to challenge their craft. And that's what's really cool, is to see how these different challenges kind of push the boundaries of what these performers are comfortable with. And so you'll watch the show and they perform and they do these really elegant and incredible shows. And then at the end, they do a judgment where they'll give them their critiques, and they'll bring on guest judges. They've had people like Felissa Rose from the Sleepaway Camp series on there. They had Millie Shapiro from the Hereditary film. They had Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows. They've had a ton of really amazing guest judges on there who kind of provide their own feedback and give some different perspective into the performance art. And then at the end of the episode, either 2 contestants or more get put up for elimination, this is where the show takes a drastically different turn from other drag performance shows, where they're put in these situations to face their fears, going from as minimal as like eating a bug to as extreme as jumping out of an airplane, or having someone pick a tattoo for you to get done, or eating pig's blood, and all this crazy stuff that's meant to push the artist to get out of their comfort zone and put them in a situation where they have to face their fears. And it's just this really amazing experience to watch these people kind of push themselves to their limits, because they're given a specific span of time to create these costumes and create these floor shows that like sometimes they have to lip sync performance to these songs that they may have never heard of before. So designing a routine on top of creating these outfits and everything that goes into it, it's just so incredible to watch the talent and the artistry surrounding that. And then the other thing that I love that the Boulets are doing is they're really providing representation in the horror community for different queer artists. And what was really amazing to see in this specific show is you have women, transgender women, you have men, you have non-binary people, you have people from all over the spectrum who are given the opportunity to be able to perform in this show, where some of the other drag programs that exist might not be as inclusive, because the Boulets constantly talk about how for the longest period of time drag has only been known as men dressing up as women, and that the scene has kind of been condensed into this very small section of people, whereas it's a really inclusive and beautiful group of human beings who come from all over the place and identify differently. And it's amazing to see the level of artistry in this show from different people from different backgrounds. And I think shows like this are really important, not only for the queer community, but for the horror community, because I think what is one of the most beautiful messages of the Boulet Brothers program is the show sets its sights in drag, filth, horror, and glamour, is what they say are the 4 pillars of Dragula. And what's amazing is that for a group of people like the queer community who have been looked at as monsters for years, kind of taking that back and reclaiming it. And I think that's why horror is so important to the queer community, because for so long there's been these characters created that are sort of representations of queer people, that it's kind of taking the power back and saying, you want to call us gross and filthy and awful? Well, we'll take it and we'll turn it on its head and show you what we have to offer. And I think it's just this really beautiful thing, and seeing kind of like the episodes where they do these really disgusting, filthy looks compared to some of these episodes where they do these really beautiful, glamorous performances. It's just a really great show, and I feel like so many people out there haven't seen it yet, and it is totally worth your time. I binged this so fast, and I'm just really upset that it's over. Right now, I'm actually hooked on the Boulet Brothers do a podcast called the Creatures of the Night podcast. A really incredible accompaniment to Dragula, because it's its own show in its own right, where they do horror movie reviews, they talk about books, they do all kinds of things. They do this really incredible segment called Hauntings of History, where they talk about specific parts of the country or out of the country, and some like hauntings and some really interesting things that are just really captivating, and they do a phenomenal job with that. But it's also a great behind the scenes look at what the Boulets have to go through to kind of structure this show and to make it happen. And their producer Ian DeVogler, who's on the podcast with them, just really provides some amazing insight, and they have wonderful chemistry. And it's just really great to kind of consume all the products that they have out there, because they're such talented people and they're really providing something wonderful to the space. And I think if you're a horror fan in general and you're not familiar with drag and you don't know anything about it, just jump in and watch this, because the other thing about the show that's so amazing is these drag performers have such beautiful stories to tell about their lives and their experiences. And sure, it's a reality TV show, so there's going to be some back and forth. There's some fun spats between people where they'll argue, and it's, you know, it's entertainment. At the end of the day, it's meant for entertainment. But there's also these really beautiful stories about the hardships and the things that these performers have had to overcome to get where they are now. And it's really amazing, because even the people that are eliminated on the first episode, it's clear that they're such talented artists from the top to the bottom, and any one of these people deserves a platform to be able to showcase their talent. And the Boulets are really giving some people the ability to have a platform that may not otherwise get it in the drag scene in the United States of America. And they obviously bring in performers from all over the place, which is really great to see. And so I just wanted to take some time to kind of shout out the Boulets and say this show is really amazing and you should definitely watch it. So if you watch the Boulet Brothers, do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I think Dragula is one of the best shows I've watched in years. I cannot wait for more seasons, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about the program. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.